as we get used to this new space and trying to adjust and figure out how things work, every week we make slightly different mistakes. So we try to pull it all together. So one of the things that we were going to try to accomplish this week was to get the slides going. But we were missing one connector. We needed to make that all happen. I'm sure there's some great meaning in that, but so we're going to have to improvise here a little bit because I have some slides to show you for my sermon. I've got them right here. So we can all So I don't know if you can see this at all. There's a lion right next to the lamb. And the lion shall lie down with the lamb. Another crazy idea from the Bible! Well, except it doesn't really say that exactly. You know, in this particular scripture it says the wolf is going to lie down with the lamb, and the lion is going to eat straw, which presumes that the lions have become vegetarians, or they've been domesticated. And actually in Isaiah 6, a little bit earlier in that chapter, it says the wolf, that was that one. The wolf will live with the lamb, and the leopard will lie with the goat, and the calf and the lion and the yearling together. So we've got the leopards and the goats, we've got the lions and the cows, we've got the wolf and the lamb. But really, isn't it really the lions and the lambs that sticks in our head? You know, wouldn't you have sworn that that was in the Bible somewhere? Me too. But it's not. But that idea, the very idea that a lion and a lamb lie down together, what a wonderfully improbable idea. So there's a painting, I don't know if you can see this. This is a painting of the Peaceable Kingdom. And this artist managed to get all the animals in at once. So they got the cows and the lambs and the kids and the wolves and the leopards and the lions. And at one point I thought I was going to use this image of the lamb lying down with the lamb, which is only possible in Photoshop. If you're using a real lion and a real lamb. And every time I looked at that, I just thought, little lamb, run away, run away. So I thought, oh, I don't know, I don't want to increase the level of anxiety. And then I kind of like this interpretation. I don't know if you can see, this is a lion and a lamb in a bar, drinking martinis. This is the Peaceable Kingdom with 2 olives. But for the moment, let's just consider this crazy idea of the lion and the lamb. To think that we are part of a tradition that would put those two things together and say that it might be probable is crazy. And it's beyond us, beyond our understanding, but right at the edge of our hopes. Wouldn't you hope that that was true? The lions and the lambs would lie down together? Regardless of whether you saw yourself as the lion or saw yourself as the lamb. We tend to think of ourselves as not being very powerful, so we're likely to maybe identify just a little bit more with that lamb rather than the lion, but actually we have more power, each of us individually and together than we might imagine. This is a good time to consider the power that we have and how we use it. This is an improbable idea that is somehow right in the middle of our tradition. This could be a guidepost for the way that we think about the future. Because the improbable has been happening, and it happened even more. Even if I were preaching this sermon after a Clinton victory, the message would not be all that much different. Because even if she had won, chances are that she would have been in charge of the executive branch. But the legislative branch, perhaps we would have control of the Senate, but maybe not enough control of the Senate to stop the other party from thwarting action. We've seen what's happened over the last 8 years in that kind of situation. It wouldn't have been easy. It wouldn't have been a solution of any sort. Even that outcome would not mean that we didn't still need to work for social justice, For equality? For God's sake, for the sake of the environment, which hardly popped up in this conversations in this election. That is one of the tragedies of this whole election cycle, in my opinion. So regardless of the result, our work would not be done. It would not be finished. We would still be at a similar sort of place. We might be a little bit more comfortable on a day-to-day basis. We might not be full of kind of inner turmoil. I don't know what you're feeling, and I don't want to presume that everyone agrees here politically. I think in Alameda County, 15% of people voted for Trump. Contra Costa County, about 25 people, or 25%. 25% voted for Trump. So for the first time, I voted in my little neighborhood on Telegraph Avenue, and for the first time I noticed the day after the election, there was a little printout from the voting machine that was tacked up on the wall. I didn't know they really did that, so I took it. I was kind of walked by, and I thought, am I supposed to know this? Because I wanted to see who my neighbors were. And it turned out that like 175 of us voted for Hillary Clinton, and a tiny handful voted for Trump, and a few people voted for the other candidates, and 5 people wrote in somebody. They didn't say who they wrote in. So, I do live in my bubble. I'm surrounded pretty much by people who agree with me politically. But this will be our task, to understand that we are part of a people in a country who do not all agree. And it seems to be playing out in recent elections that actually we're kind of close in there, very, very close in there. And I begin to wonder, is prevailing the only result that we can have? Do I just have to win? That could be true. I just have to keep working until my side wins. Or is there something in between that's completely different? Right now, in my opinion, is not the time to figure that out. Now is not the time. We have time. If we're able to create a place where the lions and the lambs can lie down together, would we expect that to happen tomorrow? Or even the tomorrow of tomorrow? No. We would expect that to be something that we might not even see, some of us who are. There's the hill. I just hate to think where I am on that hill. Now, I think, is a time to feel what we feel. Now is the time to notice how we feel. Oftentimes, our feelings are a good way of understanding other people. When we have the clarity of our own feelings, we can imagine how other people feel in similar situations. Having our feelings is a great road toward compassion. But this is a time for us to notice, to have our feelings, to find healthy and good ways to act them out. I mean, quite frankly, I think this particular community can serve a particular purpose because, we're, as a people, as a whole people, we're not easily excitable. We may be kind of freaking out on the inside, but you notice everyone is pretty much still in their seats and behaving. We're really good at that. We're behaving regardless of what goes on inside, but think of that as a gift, because we're not necessarily transmitting our anxiety all over the place. This is not the time to transmit anxiety all over the place. So find the safe ways to have your anxiety, to share that with people that you trust. But I don't think it's time for us to spread anxiety in the world, because there's enough of that already. If we can remember to breathe, if we can remember to move away from fear, which happens in this part of the brain, back up here, where we have our dreams and our hopes and our visions, That is what we need for the time. The planning will happen. And I can just feel myself. I can just feel myself, I can hardly escape it. The little alerts that pop up on my phone, the little things that pass by on the television. I want to get in there and get involved in the conversation about what happened and why it happened and what we're going to do next and what's wrong with it, and here we go. And anybody else have that experience? Aren't you glad that I'm not doing that a lot? Rather than just think, we gotta go, we gotta go, okay, this, all right, this, oh no, this is what I think happened. Okay, I gotta go. That seems to me kind of what's happening at the moment in the world. But see how grounded you are? In the face of that, you didn't kind of pop out of your seats. That's self-control. I just want to say yes to that good, self-control. There will be the times when we want to harness our energy together to act. But we can give ourselves some time. I've often said that I think of this community as a rock and as a beacon. That one of the things that we can be doing as a community is to create a place of safety. And if there's one thing that we perhaps should be doing in this moment, in my opinion, it's reassuring each other. And especially reassuring the people that are really feeling threatened at this time and have a lot of reason to. That we need to stand with each other, brothers, sisters, siblings. We need to let others know that we care, that we include, that we love, that we support, that we will stand with, that we will stand together. That is a good thing for us to be doing. Some of you may have noticed there's a thing going on the internet with the safety pins. Have you seen that? People are putting on the safety pins as a way of saying, I don't know what it means. You can mean a lot of things, but it's kind of like, I want this place to be a safe place for me and for you. That I'm standing with you. If you're feeling threatened, I want you to know that I understand that and I stand with you. A safety pin, it's just a symbol. But it's a something. It's a way for us to say, yes, inclusion, not exclusion. And so I brought safety pins this morning. I'm just going to pass these around. You can take one if you want. You can put it on. And Molly wrote about this in her devotional, and some people pushed back about whether this was an authentic act, and that's a fair question. And the spirit in which you can wear this. I didn't know there were going to be all those people in this section, so I'm not sure I have enough safety pins, but, and they're probably selling out. In my case, they had already sold out on the safety pins.
I've got some safety pins too, and there's a bunch more in the over there.
And Sophia's got safety pins too? We are, see? Obviously you guys shopped before I did. I'm just going to invite my colleagues to come stand with me. Because we're better in all this when we do it together. We don't have all the answers. Even all of us don't. Among us, we don't have, first of all, we don't have all the people around that we need to hear from in order to have the right answers. But it does help that we're standing together. It does help that we're doing this thing together. And so I want you to see this not as like, we're the ones taking care of y'all, but this is just a symbol and a sign that we are committed to working together. And we are part, and you are part of that. We are a bigger body, and that is where our power lies. It's an improbable thing. And speaking of which, and I know you have all your pledge cards open and you're just ready to change your number. We should be funding this improbability. We are an alternative institution, preaching a different message, preaching a message that might include lions and lambs sitting down together. We should be supporting this with our finances, because it does. It puts out a different message to the world, one which we need to amplify. One which we need to amplify. Take a deep breath. And let it out. This is a little piece from a book I wrote called The Slightly Bad Rantings of a Body Intellectual Part 1. You can take a look at it. It's called Reassurance. I'm needy. Now that I've got that all out in the open, maybe I can accept that at a basic body level, at a basic skin to warm skin level, I need to be calmed and collected. And I'm not the only one. Touch is the best way to get it. But we are in a touch-suspicious time. We are starved for touch, the kind that lets us know that we are here and we are okay, or just that someone else notices us. Too bad we don't have the cat's practice of licking itself all over. I've heard that was more of a reassuring action than it was for grooming, and in all my cat-having years, I never figured out how he kept track of which spots he had done and which he was doing and how he could reach everywhere. My cat rarely had cow licks, if that's into interspecies of expression, until he got old and couldn't quite bend in all the ways he could before. Anyway, I'm getting off the subject. It's going to be all right. It's going to be all right. It's going to be all right. This goes better with a hug, but it's going to be all right. And even though we have passed the peace already, we're going to do it again to reassure each other. Please join me.